Solving rate problems with proportions and equations, lesson 49. So let's look at a couple examples here. If 6 books weigh 15 pounds, how much would 20 books weigh? Again, here we have a ratio box that we can use to solve this one. You can see I have the ratio box labeled. We have the books, and then we have the weight in pounds. And then you see I have case 1 and case 2. So case 1 would just be the first part of the example. Case 2 would be the second part of the example. So if we have 6 books and they weigh 15 pounds, that would be the same thing as saying how much would 20 books weigh. So we need to find the weight of the 20 books. Now, since we are working with rate problems, we want to make sure that when we're looking at the books and the weight, we can find what the average or reduce our fraction. So we have two fractions here. We have 6 over 15 and we got 20 over W. 6 over 15, we can reduce that. If we reduce 6 over 15, that would be the same thing if I divide by 3/3. This would be the same thing as saying 2/5. So 2/5 is the same as 20 over W. And just like we did before in a previous lesson, they are equivalent. So what do we multiply 2 by to get 20? Well, I know that 2 times 10 gives me 20. So I can multiply 5 times 10 to give me my W, and the weight would be 50 pounds. So just setting up proportions and two ratios, that will help us solve our problem here. The second problem, if 6 books weigh 15 pounds, what is the weight of 20 books? Use an equation to solve. So it's the same exact problem, but now they're asking us to use an equation instead of ratio boxes to solve for this one. Now, in order to solve for this one, we need to find out what is the weight of one book. So to find the weight of one book, we would take 15 pounds and divide it by 6 books. And if you do 15 divided by 6, here you can either keep it as a fraction or you can put it as a decimal. Here I'm going to keep this as a fraction because I think it might be a little bit easier to solve. So I can reduce 15/6. We did that on the first side. We said 6/15 was 2/5. So if I divide this by 3/3, I would get 5/2. And I'm going to use that 5/2. So if each book is 5/2, so each book is 5/2, and I got 20 books. So 5/2 of 20 will give us the total weight of 20 books. And I can simplify here. I can divide a 2 here, divide a 2 here, and you get 10. 5 times 10 gives you your 50. Or if you didn't want to use 5/2, you can use 2.5 times 20. That would also give you 50. So there's just two ways of solving a rate problem, using ratio boxes or using the equation. Let's take a look at another example. If 5 pounds of seedless grapes cost $3.80, how much would 9 pounds cost? So we have our ratio boxes, we have pounds and cost, and we have our two examples, case 1 and case 2. So if 5 pounds of seedless grapes cost $3.80, how much would 9 pounds cost? So we want to find the C. And for this one, we can cross multiply. So we would do $3.80 times 9, which will give us $34.20. And then cross multiply the other direction, you get 5 times C, which is 5C. To get C by itself, I'm going to divide by 5. And so now $34.20 divided by 5 gives us a cost of $6.84. Right-hand side, 6 cows eat 200 pounds of hay a day. How many pounds of hay would 20 cows eat in a day? So here we're going to use an equation. But first we need to know how many pounds a day each cow eats. So I'm going to take my 200 and divide by 8. 200 divided by 8 gives us 25. So if each cow eats 25 pounds a day, I would take my 25 times my 20, I have 20 cows, and you would get 500 pounds. So 20 cows would eat 500 pounds in one day. A couple other examples. Julio is riding in a 50-kilometer bike race. He passed 15-kilometer mark in 27 minutes. If Julio continues to ride at the same rate, what will be his time for the whole race? So the distance at one point of the race, so he passed the 15-kilometer mark, and that was in 27 minutes. At the end of the race, he would have biked 50 kilometers. What will be his time for the whole race? We need to find the total time. So here, if we want to make the numbers a little bit easier, we can simplify our ratio. 15 over 27. If I divide those by 3, 15 divided by 3 is 5. 27 divided by 3 is 9. And this has to equal 50 over t. Now it makes the numbers a lot easier because I know that 5 and 50 work together, because 5 times 10 gives me 50. And since I have an equal sign between these two, I can multiply 9 times 10 to give me my t. That means the time would be 90 minutes. Second one, what is Julio's rate in kilometers per minute? Solve by using an equation. So we would have start off with our equation of rate times time equals distance. They're asking for the rate, so if we solve for r, that means we divide by t. So the rate equals the distance over the time. And so the distance that he is going, so we can look at, we'll use the first point of the race. So he went 15 kilometers in 27 minutes. If I were to, that would be our rate. We can reduce that, and we said reduced over here would have been 5/9. So that would be 5 kilometers in 9 minutes. Or we can think of it as, if we put it back into the original equation, r times t equals d, we would say it's 5/9 t equals d. We would have 5/9 as our rate, so 5/9 of a kilometer per minute. And one final question. 3 tickets cost $20.25. How much would 7 tickets cost? What is the unit cost? So 3 tickets cost $20.25. How much would 7 tickets cost? We want to find the price. So if we find the price here, we'd cross multiply. We have $20.25 times 7 gives us $141.75 divided by 3. The price here would be $47.25. But the question is asking, what is the unit cost? So that means, what is the cost of one ticket? So I could take my $47.25 and divide that by 7, find out what each ticket was, and now we get $6.75. I could have also did the same thing with the $20.25 and divide by 3, and I would still get $6.75. Make sure you read the question carefully. So first we had to answer how much would 7 tickets cost, and that's what we did. And then to find the unit cost, you can either use this set of numbers or you can use this set of numbers to find the unit ratio or the unit cost. And the very last one, Darcy can type 135 words in 3 minutes. At that rate, how many minutes would it take her to type 450 words? Solved by using an equation. So first off, we want to find out how many words per minute. So she can do 135 words in 3 minutes. 135 divided by 3, that would be 45 words per minute. So if she does that per minute, so 45 per minute times 450 words. How many minutes would that be? So in order to do that, I wasn't multiplying that because you would still use the formula rate times time equals the words. And we substitute our numbers in. The words would have been 450 words. We have to find the time, but we found the rate of 45. So to solve for t, I'm just going to divide by 45. 450 divided by 45 would just give you 10. So time would be 10 minutes. So that is our lesson on finding rates, solving rate problems, and with proportions and with equations.